Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. I'm your host, Reeves Kurtner. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington, MosesMeansMore.com, empowered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications. Today we're exploring a key topic for any business, marketing, specifically digital marketing and traditional marketing. In a rapidly changing world, it can be tough to figure out where to focus your advertising efforts. Should you go digital, stick with traditional, or combine the two? Today we'll break down the strengths and opportunities each approach offers, helping you understand how to make the most of your marketing budget. And we've got the perfect guest to guide us through this, the owner of Bullseye Total Media, Amy Frasure. If you're looking for ways to grow your business, reach your target audience, and boost your advertising ROI, this is a great episode for you. Let's get in your business. Let's start with, give us an introduction of Bullseye Total Media, your background, your history, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so Bullseye Total Media is a full-service ad agency in Huntington. We started as more of a digital agency, but kind of developed over the years. We've been in business going on 10 years now, which is crazy to me.
Sure.
There's 15 or 16 of us right on 4th Avenue. We do everything from advertising to, websites, video production, you name it. We'll come up with it.
What's been like the most unique project that you've been involved in at Bullseye?
Oh man,
you don't have to name names, but anything that like something kind of weird or sticks out a little bit.
We built a floating golf hole.
Okay.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah. And what was the floating golf? What's the context of that?
It was for Marshall Health Network foundations, and they just needed something special for their golf tournament, and so we created a fun, exciting hole.
Awesome.
On the course. But yeah, I think that's what we like to tell people. We're problem solvers and storytellers.
There we go.
If you have a problem to solve or a story to be told, we can do it.
Perfect. So today we want to talk about digital marketing versus traditional marketing. But let's start with why is it important for businesses to advertise? You and I, we've both ran into people, I don't need to advertise, and we say nonsense.
One of my favorite things that people say is like, oh, I don't need to advertise, I get word of mouth. Well, that's great. And I agree that word of mouth is a really strong point of advertising, but you also have to understand, like for a restaurant, if you go and have a really good meal somewhere, you don't tell anybody. You go somewhere and have a bad meal, you're going to tell 7 or 8 people, you're probably going to post it on Facebook and be obnoxious about it, and that's how advertising works.
That's right. Yeah.
So you really can't, unless you are creating and fostering the message, you can't control what's out there.
Yeah, and I'll add too, things change, the world changes.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like people move and come into town, they don't know you're there. Your clientele is getting older, all that kind of stuff. Like it's just that nonsense of like, I don't need to advertise, it drives me mental.
Well, and you don't advertise for immediate results. You advertise so, my car's not broken down right now, but when it is, I think about the people that advertise.
That's right.
It's consistency. Right.
Yes.
And brand awareness.
All that. So let's talk about digital marketing, traditional marketing. Let's start there. Give us your definitions of digital marketing, and then give us a definition of when we're talking about traditional marketing.
I think the easiest way to segment it out is traditional marketing goes to the masses. Digital marketing goes to the person.
Okay.
There's way less waste in the digital side of things.
Sure.
And they both accomplish different things. And I would never tell somebody, oh, well, don't use traditional, just use digital, or vice versa, because I think they both complement each other.
Sure.
And they do different things.
Why do you think they complement each other? Let's start there.
I think, especially on the traditional front, brand awareness and brand equity is huge.
Okay.
So I think the masses hearing your name over and over again is important. The frequency, the reach, the old school mentality. Yes. But I think the digital actually causes action. So I drive down the road and I see a billboard. I can't click on that billboard and really see what's available.
Sure.
If I get an ad in my Facebook feed, or I get an ad in an app, I can actually click on it and take action right then and there.
Well, let's back up. You mentioned your car didn't break down today, but when it does, that can be a great example of traditional and digital, right? So talk about how your car didn't break down today. Talk about how traditional can be a part of that, and then how the digital could be a part of that.
So last time I bought a car, which was, I don't know, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I have a Bronco, and I wanted the new Bronco, and with COVID and everything, it was so hard to get them. So I would constantly be obsessively searching for sites that had a Bronco in stock, because nobody had Broncos in stock. Well, once I started going to these websites, I was being retargeted, which is exactly what digital wants you to do. So what happens is I would get a line of code on my device, and then I would be followed with ads for specific dealerships all over the area.
Sure.
Or the country,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, because I was looking everywhere. By the time that I made the decision locally, when I would hear a radio ad or I'd see a TV ad, or I'm not gonna lie, I don't do TV.
Well, yeah.
It's just my age,
Yeah.
and it's expensive.
Yeah.
On a billboard, like my mind constantly goes to, let me look at this, and once I look things up, then I'm getting retargeted and I'm getting the digital ads.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I would have never known what a Bronco was if I hadn't seen traditional advertising.
That made you look it up and
Right.
all that kind of stuff too. And again, when we're talking about digital and traditional is your TV, radio, billboards, all that stuff. And digital, it's what's on your phone, your computer, and now and also now on TV,
On connected TV,
on your
with your
TVs now
OTT
too.
and-
So you kind of hit it on this too. Can you give us some examples where one is cost, but what are some of the advantages of digital over traditional, and then traditional over digital?
One of the most important things I would say for digital is if you're trying to target B2B. It's very hard with traditional media to targeting businesses. With digital, you have the opportunity, if you have a niche product that only businesses and business owners can take action on,
Sure.
you can target them very nichely. Is nichely a word? Can I say that?
I love
Works
it.
for me.
It's a new word for me. Yeah.
Like one of the things that pops in my mind is a couple years ago, we did a waste removal campaign. Was fascinating. I never heard of this company. They were out of Charleston. We targeted funeral homes. We targeted veterinary clinics. We targeted places that, if you saw a waste removal ad on,
That's right.
The TV station, you would be like, why do I need to? Of
course.
What can I do about this?
Yep.
But on a digital site, when we are truly targeting people who have companies in their name that require waste removal, it's all of a sudden it's important.
Yep.
We do the same thing with a group over in Ashland, Portable Solutions Group. They strictly target, construction businesses, safety businesses, where they come in and put custom containers on their property for safety and storage and all kinds of different things. And the average person can't spend $100,000 on a modified shipping container.
That's right.
But there is a group of people out there that do. So you're paying for the just exact person you're wanting to
That's
target.
right.
You're not paying for the masses of every single person in this area that has any type of device, billboard, car, you name it.
Something that when you talk about digital with people and they're like, oh, that's scary, that's freaky, or whatever, I always bring it back to, hey, I own a pontoon. You, Amy, you own a boat and a Bronco, and I'm into concerts and whatever. I'd much rather see ads for the stuff that I'm interested in. I don't want to see ads for waste removal or hunting. I don't hunt. I don't fish. I float,
Yep.
So would you rather your social media feed or your games and whatever, would you rather see ads for what you care about, what you're interested in, or waste removal stuff, right?
Well, and I think you have an interesting group of people. You have the business owners that say that, and I'm like, well, your competition's doing it.
That's true.
So why would would you not? But at the same time, back to COVID, the majority of my days were spent just scrolling aimlessly, and I would get so many targeted ads for things that I was like, why have I never thought about that? I spent so much money during COVID, and some of those things are my favorite.
Sure.
So yeah, I tell everybody all the time, like, I hope your targeting's good because I want to see all of the cool gadgets. Like,
That's
I don't
right.
have to cut out the corn off my cob anymore. I have this thing that just slides down it.
That's what you need. Yes.
It was $4.99 and it
Yes.
was great.
All right, same question. So B2B for digital, a great example there. Give us some scenarios where traditional marketing is still relevant and effective.
I think at the end of the day, to get your name out, your brand, your new business, people know who you are. You want them to know who you are. You've got to do something to get your name out there. And I think a lot of times if you do not have the means or the ability to have a website or to have these things in place and you truly just have a phone number, your best bet is to get it out to as many as people as possible.
Sure.
But on the digital side, it is imperative if you take nothing away from this, to, in this day and age, to have a functional mobile optimized website that is not Facebook.
Right.
Like,
which you can do almost for free with Wixes and all that
I
kind
hate
of
Wix,
stuff.
but yes.
I'm just, but better than nothing.
Absolutely,
Though.
yeah.
Better than nothing.
Well, and I think a lot of times people, I have a Facebook. Well, that's great. Facebook could change tomorrow and you could lose everything that you've ever done because you don't own Facebook.
Yeah.
On a website, you own your website.
Yeah, that's true. Cost. It's all this stuff you're talking about. It's got to cost a lot of money.
Yep.
Talk about the cost of digital marketing compare to traditional? How does all that work?
Honestly, it's more expensive for traditional for the most part, but I think it's apples and oranges. Like, you can't necessarily compare the two. So I think traditional, if you want a solid reach and frequency campaign in this area, if you were using multiple mediums, I think you'd be in the $10,000 range a month to be effective, which is a lot, especially for a small business. Digitally, if you truly just wanted to retarget, which is following people around that have been to your site, your low-hanging fruit of an audience, you could be in the $250 range.
Sure.
Granted, we've got clients that spend $50 a month, and we have clients that spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month. So it truly just depends what you're trying to accomplish, which is probably the first step in anything, is just having that conversation.
Well, and same thing too, if you're doing $10,000 a month in digital or $10,000 a month in traditional, a dollar's a dollar, right? And it's like you can also do $500 a month in traditional or $500 a month in digital. It just depends on what you're doing,
well,
right?
And at the end of the day, it's kind of your return on investment. So if you have a product that cost, Austin's ice cream is a good example. It $2.50 for your product. Then if you're going to do a $10,000 campaign, you got to sell a heck of a lot of ice cream to get that covered.
That's right.
On the digital front, if you spend $250, $300 just a basic campaign, it's a lot easier to make that back.
Yeah.
But I think that all depends on what your return on investment is. Like, it's a lot easier for bigger companies like car dealerships and those types of places that are, making more money on a sale versus a small business serving ice cream.
Yeah, selling one boat.
Correct.
All that.
But I think, can I say one more thing?
Of course.
I think one of the things you have to do, and one of the things that we try really hard to do on the front, is manage expectations. No matter what type of advertising you do, it's not going to rock your world. Like, it takes so many different factors.
That's right.
And it's not going to dramatically change your life overnight.
Yeah.
So I think managing the expectations and establishing what that return on investment looks like to you. Like, you use a boat. Let's say you do a couple $1,000s a month on some advertising, and one boat covers that.
Yeah.
Okay.
One boat, he'll take home $2,000 from selling a boat.
Correct.
Right. He's selling a $25,000 boat, and he'll sell it. He's got 22 in it, and he'll pocket $3,000.
Right. And is it great that you might sell 4 boats? That's fine, but managing expectation is, did we cover our costs, and did you make a little bit?
That's right.
Because that's all at the end of the day we've got to do.
Yep. Sometimes, like you said, it just 2 or 3 might do it, or whatever. And I'll play this too, like on the Austin's ice cream thing. Yeah, you guys sell a lot of ice cream, but it's like, hey, can we get 5 new customers?
Yep.
And that's it. That's still not going to cover the cost of it, but if they come twice a month, 6 months out of the year, they come for 5 years.
They buy a T-shirt.
Now we're like, okay, that one customer now spent $150 with us. Like 5 more people. Oh, now it did pay for that thing. Kind of looking at it that way too.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, you've been doing the digital thing for 10, 12 years now.
Yeah.
How's it changed?
Oh my gosh, it's changed completely. I think when I first started in the digital space, people still consumed their news on television. One of the things I always would go back to is the inauguration.
Which inauguration? Which one are we talking here?
So Trump's first inauguration. Yeah, so 2016.
Yep.
People were still trying to decide, do I consume my news on TV?
Okay.
Or do I consume my news on the internet?
Right.
And it was a very weird split. Now, if you look at when Biden was inaugurated, which was what? 2020.
Yep.
It was almost 90% was consumed of his inauguration was on the digital space and not TV. And I think that's same thing with your news. The average person does not get their news from the TV.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't get their news from the newspaper. They get their news from, sadly, their Facebook feeds.
Yeah, sure.
Or online apps or digital subscriptions.
Yeah.
So I think as the news has changed, digital has changed. And there's been different options. Like, you used to just be basic banner ads, your paid searches, occasionally some targeted email and some video. And now you're doing the streaming services. You got connected. You've got IP. You've got cluster IP. You've got native. There's just so many spaces that you can fill in the digital world. So,
when we're talking about traditional, one radio ad, TV ad, whatever, is going to hit a lot of people.
Correct.
Some are going to be in the market for your product, some are not. Yep. How with digital and all this stuff that you just kind of mentioned, social media, right? 10 years ago, it was MySpace. 15, 20 years ago, and then it was Facebook.
ICQ.
Yeah. How do you, with all digital used to be kind of like TV. There used to be 4 channels, right? There was 3 channels, and that was it, or just one cable company. Well, now it's like digital is like, it's now like TV where there's 50 different options. How do you pick the right one, and how do you still target who you need to target with all those different options? I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on. How do you hit those people?
But I think you have to establish who your audience is, and that's the cool thing about digital. My ideal customer is, 50 plus. They have a disposable income, and they have a credit score of 700. Okay, we would target that ideal person. Chances are we're probably going to hit them on Facebook and mobile.
Okay.
Based on what their habits are.
Okay.
Online.
Yep.
But I think I always go back to my parents, who they're both retired. They're in their 60s. Full-time grandparents now, living their best life. They do not have any social media. We just got my dad an iPhone. He is great on it, but at the end of the day, that's all he's got.
Yeah.
And it amazes him. Like, he'll say, like, oh my gosh, I got an ad. Like, is that an ad? Is that what you do for a living? And a lot of people don't even understand that they're consuming digital ads still.
True.
So at the end of the day, you still have a major education process that we are up against. But people don't realize at all that they're getting targeted specifically to the person.
Yeah, sure.
And people immediately say, oh, they spend so much money because they're everywhere. Well, at the end of the day, we're probably spending $25, but we're just hammering you.
That's right.
Like, we want you to spend your money.
Yeah. What are some of the common misconceptions when it comes to digital marketing?
It's so expensive.
Yeah.
I can't afford it. Those are pretty common. The only specific entities can do it. Like, I tell people all the time, everybody's selling the same internet. It's not like a TV station or a radio station, or
right.
Everybody that's selling it is selling the exact same internet.
Sure.
There are better ways to target, and there's more effective. A lot of people have some blacklisted sites that probably shouldn't be in their repertoire. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but at the end of the day, everybody's selling the same internet.
Right.
And let's be honest, and you can kind of attest to this with the way things are changing, people have to sell digital to make ends meet. I mean, that's just how society has made it.
Sure. Well, and again, I want to talk about digital and traditional.
Yep.
As we've talked about, they work so freaking well together.
Yep.
And you and I have said before, radio is my bread and butter. Digital is my dessert, I guess, and other events and whatever else. But like, I'm pro advertising.
Yep.
If it's not with me, just do it. Okay, at least get your name out there, because it drives me nuts when I see businesses that are closing down, not doing well, and it's like, well, they weren't doing anything. They were not inviting the TV station's audience, my competitors' audiences, whatever. They weren't inviting anybody into their store, which you got to do. Start there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm sorry, but traditional and digital, they just work so well together in so many different ways.
Well, and I think there's a misconception that everything is so expensive when there's a million things that you can do. Guerrilla type marketing that doesn't cost a lot of money that still gets your name out there. But yeah,
Sure.
You'll never hear me say any type of advertising is bad advertising.
Yeah, got to invite them to the store.
And we, as an agency, we do a ton of media buying for a ton of different clients, and you will never see me just buying digital for a client.
No. And again, they all work. Consistency is the big one, right? No matter which one you're doing.
Well, and I think that's a good point on the digital side that you bring up on, TV station. Let's say you can maybe afford to run 15 spots a month. That is at max. If I'm in front of the TV, I see it 15 times. That's all I'm going to see.
That's right.
My goal digitally is to hit someone in a couple weeks 26 to 40 times,
Sure.
Which is a whole different level of frequency.
That's right.
For less money.
That's right. What are some of the challenges that businesses face when it comes to digital marketing?
Understanding it.
Okay.
I think a lot of people feel like it's over their head, and you're so busy doing everything else, like running a business.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
With inflation and everything's going up, your mind is not going to those types of things. So I think just relying on an expert, and I think understanding that just because you have a conversation doesn't mean you have to do it. Because there's been people that have in the last couple of weeks who have sat down in front of me and said, what do you think I need to do? We have this much money. And I'm like, I would not put it there. I would spend your money doing this. Because I think at the end of the day, it's going to be more effective. And there's a lot of people that come to us with money, and I say, I don't know that this is a good,
right.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good investment for you. I don't know that I'd spend that money here.
Sure.
So I think at the end of the day, having a conversation to understand the medium and how they work together, and how they can complement each other and how they can impact your business.
What advice do you give businesses that are discussing, I've got a limited budget, I can't do both? What are those conversations like when we're discussing traditional and digital or both?
Start with your foundation.
What do you mean?
I think when we sit down with someone and they have a limited budget, I always like to say, what do your nuts and bolts look like?
Okay.
So do you have a website? If you don't have a website, that's the first place we should start.
Okay.
Because no matter what, however people hear about you, they're going to want to come to see some type of online presence.
That's right.
That's free. That's not going anywhere.
Yep.
So we talk a lot about, making sure your foundation's set before you spend a lot of money advertising. And then if they have a set amount, I would ask them what their target demographic is, and I would put together a plan that I think would best suit them. But to be honest with you, it would be a lot more guerrilla and foundational more than anything.
Yeah. When we were talking about return on investment earlier, how can I, Mr. Business Owner, how can I tell that it worked?
So I think that is the low, man, if I could answer that, I would be a millionaire.
Right?
I think that is a question that only,
how do you address it? I mean,
so one of the first conversations I have with clients are how are we tracking results? What are you considering? A lot of people put something on their website that says, I heard this on this. One of my favorite, Joel Goldie, told me years ago, that he had received all of these forms when people bought cars about how they heard from him on the radio. He wasn't at the time spending any money on radio, but they heard his jingle on TV. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, you trust that they are going to know, where they heard their advertising, and that's just not reality.
Yep.
So I think, we have one client right now who their goal was to actively grow their presence in Huntington. We've been doing things with them for a couple months. We sat down the other day and said, okay, let's look at your numbers. Let's see the people that walked through the door. They have obviously a little bit better tracking. Their Huntington business has gone up 21%. That means we're doing something right.
Yeah.
It's truly, and it's not just us. I mean, there's partnerships along the way that have made that happen.
Sure.
But it's having a strategy and a plan in place, and understanding that it's not going to happen overnight.
That's right.
If you're the kind of person that wants to spend, I want to throw $1,000 at it this month, and then maybe I'll throw another $1,000 out in December when I'm struggling. That's just not how life works.
That's right.
We need consistency. And if at the end of 3 or 4 months, if something's not working, we're going to change the plan and figure out why it's not working.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, at the end of 3 months, you're going to be like, okay, that was worth my time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you a story where, I just can't tell if it's working. I did this. And I'd be like, how's business?
Yep.
And it's good. We're up 15%. Yep. It's working. Okay.
Right.
Everything is working. Stop talking.
Yeah.
Like you're doing your job. Your customer service is good. Your sales guys are closing business inside. We're getting people into the store. So's the other radio guys and the other TV guys, the digital people, whatever. Like you're at 15% in today's world. Heck yeah! Like, what are you worried about?
A couple months ago, we were doing a call with somebody, and we were asking like, how are things going? And they're like, we're not sure how advertising working. We're working on it. We're trying to see how we can track it better. And I was like, okay, well, how are things going? Oh, we are so backed up on production. And I was like, what's that mean? We've just got so many orders in. And I'm like, then it's working.
Yeah, that's it. And another thing too that I'll tell
your job.
people on the managing expectations, it's just like breaking it down. Like, hey, if we get 2 or 4, that might be all that we need, depending on what we're selling. But then let them know, look at their own website traffic.
Yep.
Their phone should be ringing a little bit more. Their foot traffic, all that kind of stuff too. Not yes, dollars and cents is what matters at the end of the day, but what are those other indicators too?
Well, and on the digital front, we always say our job is to get them to your website. I can't control what they do once they're there.
No.
So like if your experience or user experience isn't great and you haven't trained your folks on your end to deal with customers, then that's also like we had a situation a couple years ago where things just weren't working. Well, their website inquiries were up 200%, but we just can't close any people. Well, that's probably an issue on your end about closing people.
Right.
So you maybe educating your staff better, or making sure your website is up to snuff and making sure. But I think a lot of times people think, well, you're going to make my phone ring and you're going to make people sell. Well, we're in this together. You have to do some work too. Like I can get them there.
Oh, that's right.
But at the end of the day, you got to close them.
I joke too. Whenever there's one person that we've dealt with, I think you've dealt with them, and they say whenever business is good, it's because their sales team was great and their customer service was great. Whatever, when business is bad, it was our fault. The marketers, right?
Like they're all not they're all. I shouldn't say that. That is a very common.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't need you. This is our great sales team.
We laughed. We had a meeting. We had a client that said, "Hey, like we just can't afford to do things anymore. Been on with us for a couple years," and we were like, "Hey, it's cool. Like I understand times are tough right now." He's like, "Nothing you guys did. It's just part of it." And I was like, "I understand if there's anything we can do for you in the future." 9 months later, I got a phone call, same guy, and he was like, "I don't know what happened. Our business just tanked after 9 months." He was like, "We've just been struggling." And I was like, "Do you remember what happened 9 months ago?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Yep, that's why I called."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you stopped inviting people into your business.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts or tips for businesses? Again, with digital, with traditional, whatever, on kind of navigating today's landscape.
I think not. I always say that we are like a neutral playing field. So, we're not going to come in and overly sell you WSAZ, WCHS, iHeart, Kindred. We're not going to be that person that comes in and says, you should do this. We're not salesy people. Our job is to look at it very neutral and say, this is the plan that makes you successful. So I think not being afraid to have that conversation. Conversations don't cost money. And I promise this, no matter what rep you talk to in town, conversations don't cost money. So just having that conversation and starting the process to understand, what advertising looks like, if it is traditionally, if it is digital, and more importantly, if it's just, updating your logo.
Yeah.
Getting a video done to tell your story. You need brochures for a trade show, getting those printed that don't look like a kindergartner did them.
Yeah. Let me ask you this too. When you're making recommendations for someone and you're looking at radio, you're looking at TV, you're looking at digital, why do you, Amy, Bullseye go, radio is a good fit for you, but this time TV is a good fit for you, digital is, both are. How do you make those decisions? Why do you pick radio sometimes? Why do you pick TV sometimes? Why do you do both?
I think honestly, trial and error.
Okay.
I think I've done it so long and I've seen so many different businesses work things different ways. I just know that I know the audience and I know what I typically think works best. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I'm the first to admit it. I'm the first to say, we should do this, we should do that. But always, there's plenty of room in the sandbox. But I think understanding what everyone's roles are, and I'm a coach. I'm not the umpire. I'm not the players. I'm the coach. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure we win.
And that's our episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and even leave us a 5-star review. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington, MosesMeansMore.com, and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications.